For the record, this is how I feel about publisher blacklists, tweeted senior Kotaku writer Luke Plunkett. Attached to the tweet was an image of World War II Air Force General James H. Howard in his plane, adorned with 12 icons representing confirmed kills, half of which represent kills against Imperial Japan. Japan, of course, being the home of Nintendo, the most relevant publisher to his current anger, as they had just had a big release, Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom, and Kotaku didn't get early access to the goods. He deleted it, but I'm still surprised he got away with it. I don't imagine many people would. Guess he was fast enough. And yeah, Imperial Japan ain't modern Japan, but what would you think I meant if I said Olaf Scholz? Only good Nazi's a dead one. Pretty edgy there, Luke. And I don't particularly blame any company that doesn't want to have a working relationship with any other entity staffed by people who would ostensibly wish mass death upon them for not sharing their toys early enough. That's a wee bit deranged. However, there is something to be said about the blacklisting of major entertainment news outlets. It is, no matter how much you hate Kotaku, something of a negative. The usual arguments carry some weight. It's true, with so many sales happening prior to launch, it is beneficial for people to have access to critical analysis of a product before they pre-order it. One less outlet able to do that, one less perspective, yada yada. You get it. Plus, not only do you have one less take on a product, it also allows a publisher to curate the coverage they do get by making sure the first people to publish information are people friendly to their brand. You have less viewpoints on the product and less critical viewpoints. Very simple to understand. This is the most basic of access journalism scenarios in entertainment. You get early access to a product, you win the race to get content out. You don't want to lose that access? Maybe you'll go soft for fear of being cut off in future. The people saying that Nintendo or anyone else's choice to cut Kotaku off from access it gives other large outlets harms journalism or is a negative for the consumer are, on some level, correct. But this is all ignoring the giant elephant in the room. Why in the hell is Nintendo able to make a choice with that kind of impact? Why would you, as a supposed journalist, ever allow yourself to be in a position where the subject of your coverage, the companies you're supposed to be, in a way, protecting your audience from, have that much power over your ability to do your job? The arrangement that creates this situation isn't a rule of nature. It isn't set in stone. It can be viewed as leftover from when Games Press was really just advertising in disguise. I mean, it still is. But it at least postures and pretends not to be, and I'd hope wants to be. But that doesn't mean you can sweep the past under the rug without doing the work to truly clean up your mess. Look at Luke, the guy I quoted at the start. He was saying, just last week, that we need to be better than we were in 1995. And yet he's barely cracking the 40s. You shouldn't be furious at Nintendo if what you care about is journalism and consumer advocacy. You should be furious at the state of this corner of journalism. You should be raging against that every day, and not just when you or your buddy or the place you work for gets burnt. So why, over the decades, haven't they done anything to break this addiction to access? The shift from print to digital would have been a great opportunity. They could have started to promote patience. They could have explained that needing to get coverage in front of consumers prior to release because so many people pre-order puts them in a situation where publishers have too much power. It would take a lot of work and a long time, but at this point they've had a long time. It could have been done by now. Inculcating a reader base with the value of waiting would have changed all of this. Imagine a world where instead of journalists keeping up with an industry that's pushed sales to happen before release, the industry's wrestling with an informed audience that waits to hear from experienced critics, with sales pushed to happening after release, Maybe even by days, maybe even weeks. They could have fought for that. But they didn't. Not even a bit. Oh, but that wouldn't ever work. People to just pre-order anyway, no matter what we say. The hype is too strong, cries the games journo. Okay, then why the hell would your criticism have any impact either, if they don't care or listen to you? Either way, your existence is pointless if that's true. That's bullshit. They did this, you know. Not the exact individuals active now, necessarily, but their profession did this. By acting as part of the hype machine for decades, they set the standards. They can't just say, we're the good guys now, so we don't deserve to be hurt by this. We've grown, we've changed. No, they have to clean their room before they can start talking like that. Maybe, though, they don't want to. Maybe. Now bear with me. The arguments about how publishers need to provide access because it benefits consumers, or because denying access degrades journalism, are hollow, and they know it. Maybe they like the arrangement. No one new can compete with them. It's not called blacklisting when a little blog doesn't get access to a game. They're just not in the same league. They're not entitled to it. They didn't earn it. They haven't sucked enough publisher cocks over the years. You know, here's something disgusting. In a way, they gain an air of legitimacy from being provided with early access. By being one of the outlets deemed deserving, they're granted an appearance of authority by the companies they're supposed to be policing the actions of and quality of output of. They can try to say, no, it doesn't mean that. This is just for the good of our readers. They can try and say the people happy that Nintendo knocked them down a peg are crazy because it doesn't work like that. But that appearance didn't come from nowhere. It came from how games journalism has functioned for decades. A magazine being labeled official X brand magazine is a giant red flag to my eyes. But people gobbled that stuff up, seeing it as being the real deal. Some of these still exist, and I mean, official Xbox magazine was only killed by COVID. If games journalism wants to right itself, stuff like that should have been absolutely, mercilessly murdered. Part of a journalist's responsibility is keeping his or her peers clean, too. You don't? You let perception of it as a whole die, and nothing you do has any weight because no one trusts or likes you. However, games journalists in particular seem utterly incapable of engaging in friendly fire unless it's along the lines of political ideology. It's not just the benefits of the access system locking them in place, it's a fear of stepping on cross-publication colleagues' toes. If they say the arrangement is fundamentally bad and needs to change, they're saying that what other journalists are doing is bad, and they'll likely be ganged up on. Maybe even put on a different kind of blacklist, or called a gamergator. So, if you look at things on a short time scale and accept the status quo, then publisher blacklists are bad. In the big picture, though, they're karma. Plus, if you think about it, all this would be fixed if publishers blacklisted every outlet and made these writers quit access journalism cold turkey. So in a way, it's simply a good start. But, as usual, that's just another one of my harmful opinions.